Hey, am I on the thing?
Mhm.
Hey guys, well, Burke Cashflow Investors Live, and we do these every single Monday, Wednesday, and on Fridays. And the whole idea is to answer some questions. Remember that there is a meeting coming up, which is Inside the Banker's Mind. Meet our lenders. So this is a kind of special lenders panel. We'll talk about here in a few minutes. So again, if you have any friends, family, or other fellow investors that would like them to learn, to grow, and be a part of the whole community, make sure you refer for them to join the Facebook group and join Burke Cashflow Investors. We appreciate your help in terms of being able to help us and all of us be able to contribute and grow. Having said that, let's go ahead and get started with questions. So question number one that was sent in, and if for any of you listening, watching, you want to send in questions that are related to real estate, you don't have to be in any questions that you have, we will be happy to answer. If you have any wholesale deals that you're doing and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with it, we're happy. We're not going to obviously give out the address for your property, but we're happy within this time frame to help you analyze it or to help you go through some of the numbers. So that's kind of the point of this particular half an hour, 45 minutes that we do. So question number one that came in is, if I find a house that is listed on the multiple listing service, MLS, should I be using a listing agent or should I have my own agent show me the house? So our suggestion is this, that it depends where the listing came from. Meaning, if you basically have a search set up in Redfin, if you have a search in Zillow, you find the property on MLS, right? On Zillow or Redfin, I would call the agent directly. If you're working with an agent and that agent is working for you, they're working their butt off and they're basically working hard to send you properties, then the honorable thing to do is make sure you give that business to that particular agent because they're working hard for you to find properties for you. So just remember that otherwise, always go directly to the listing agent. But if you have an agent that's working with you, that's good, that you want to be loyal, you don't want to be basically, because that's the only way they make money. So always be loyal to people you're working with. But if you're not working with somebody, then you found the property, then you can go directly to the listing agent, period, because it makes your life easier. Listing agent knows the property, so that's better for you. Question number two, as a newbie flipper wanting to do a flip, should I take a contractor with me to estimate the amount of work that has to be done? So here's the only problem, that if you're new and I mean, like, let's say if you're in Mastery, we would give you a guideline as to how to get the property under contract first, right? So we would go ahead and give you that guideline. Here's how you do the estimation. You do area analysis first, property analysis second, numbers analysis, and then boom, put in an offer, right? Because that can be done very, very quickly. And then once you get it under contract, then we'll do the analysis whether it makes sense or not. And within the first 5 days, you can always get out of the contract. It's no big deal. You don't lose money. Nothing is lost. Boom, you're out. No big deal, right? So there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. If you're not in Mastery, right, my suggestion would be is that the market is hot. So what I would suggest, that if you're not just scared of the house, meaning if it's just not in absolute terrible condition, get the property under contract. Don't miss out on getting the property under contract. So get it under contract and then take the contractor. If you wait for the contractor, your time, the realtor's time to be coincide when you can get them in the property, you're going to miss out the property, right? In attorney approval, you can always extend the attorney approval and you can always get the people in to the property during that time. So make sure that you get them in at that point. Don't wait, because otherwise you're going to miss good quality properties. You don't want to miss it, and you don't want to lose any earnest money. So even after you've tendered earnest money, for the first 5 days, you can always get out of the contract 5 business days, meaning let's say you got a contract signed Wednesday evening, 6 o'clock. So that day doesn't count. Then it's Thursday, Friday, if those are working days. Then Saturday, Sunday doesn't count because it's not a working day. Then it'll be Monday, Tuesday, and all of Wednesday. Now, on say Wednesday afternoon, you can ask for another extension, right? No problem with that. Now, they can choose not to give you the extension, but it's not a problem at all for you to be able to basically cancel that particular contract if for some reason it's not working out for you. But there's absolutely no reason for you to be worried. As long as you have attorney approval, you can always get out of the deal. So next question was, what is the best way to calculate the total cost of the project to determine if it is a good deal or not? This is a little bit larger conversation, but I'll kind of give you an example of how we do it and how we teach it in Mastery, right? So the way we do it in Mastery is this. Number one, we want the person to go drive up to the property. They're driving up to the property. The first thing we want them to look at is, what is the location, meaning area selection? What is the suburb? Is it A, B, C, or D suburb? That's going to determine the in general value of the property. Obviously, what is the suburb like? What are the properties selling in the market? What are the neighbors like? Who's going to be your buyer in that particular area? Now, I know this has nothing to do with the project, but you have to look at the overall picture. Second thing, when you pull up the property, we want you to take a picture of the entire property from kind of, outside your car, just 20, 30 feet away, so that you get the entire picture of the property, right? And then start taking pictures of anything. So let's just say the gutters are falling. Now you take a closer up picture. Let's just say there's the soffit or fascia, right, is damaged. Now you take a closer picture. If all you do is take pictures of the bad things and zoomed in pictures of all the bad things in the house, and you show it to somebody, they say, oh my God, the house is terrible. Not realizing that, no, the house in general is okay. Maybe the gutters are messed up. Maybe because of that, there was a little bit rotten fascia sort of thing, which is no big deal. So always make sure you always take a perspective picture, and then you take a picture of all the things. And whenever you're at the property, do not try to figure out how much it's going to cost. So take a picture from the side of the property, meaning a 45-degree angle of the corner. Then take a picture of the roof. Then take a picture of the side. Then a 45-degree angle. Then the back. Then all the way you're going to do that. Then you're going to go inside, and then room by room by room by room by room, you're going to just take detailed pictures of every single room. Take a picture of all the mechanicals, right? Take a picture of the garage floor. Take a picture of everything you want to document. That's what you're doing when you're there. When you're at the property, you're not going to come up with a budget, because generally, either it's going to be hot, it's going to be cold, it's raining, it's this, that, something is off. So when you go there, document the property really, really well. Now you get back home. At that point, you're going to start looking at the pictures and then go through a checklist, say, okay, what is the condition of the exterior of the property? So we tend to divide the property into 5 sections. 1, exterior. So that's going to be your grass. That's going to be your front yard. That's going to be your kind of maybe the mulch. It's going to be an overgrown trees. That's going to be your driveway. It's going to be exterior of the property. It's going to be the roof, soffit, fascia, gutters, everything that's on the outside envelope of the property. Second, inside the house, we're going to look at the electrical system, the HVAC system, the plumbing system, and the interior as the rest. That's how we divide the whole property. And within those, there are going to be sections within so basically, if you're doing a new kitchen, if you're doing changing the floors, if you're doing carpeting, painting, all that kind of stuff is going to be in the interior rehab. Right? So that's how we generally do it. And generally, people, when they're doing a rehab with a Mastery, it's going to be 800 square feet to about 1,300 square feet. Now, I know what some people will say, but Andrew, you mean nobody does a 1,800 square foot rehab? That's not what I said. I said generally. What is the general properties people are flipping? So if you're flipping a property that's 1,800 square feet, 2,000 square feet, we're going to kind of increase the budget. So we use a general rule of thumb, which is that if a property is okay on the outside, okay meaning the driveway is okay, your siding is okay, your windows are okay, in general. Right now, that doesn't mean you're not going to have to spend $1,000 or so bucks doing landscaping, make it look nice, cleaning up any garbage or that kind of stuff outside. But if majority of the things are okay outside the property, and if the property is between about 900 square feet to about a 1,200-1,300 square foot property, then generally for each floor, you're going to take a guesstimate of about $35,000. Now, what does that include? Well, that includes a complete interior rehab. It includes one major item. So one major item can be, I need a new HVAC, right? That's included in that, right? Now, it doesn't mean that you need all new electrical, all new plumbing. Generally, you don't need all new electrical. Generally, you don't need all new plumbing. You may have one major item in the property that is messed up. So that's why we divided into 5 systems. So it is the exterior of the property. That's system number 1. So let's say on the exterior of the property, the roof is damaged, right? So we use a general rule of thumb. And the general rule of thumb is that, because see, you and I are not contractors. We're not supposed to know how a contract, how to basically contract a house out. We're supposed to know as investors, hey, the house is 1,000 square feet. There's a garage that's another 400 square feet, 20 by 20 garage. That's what an average 2-car garage is, right? So do I know exactly how many squares there are on a house? No. But I have a pretty good guesstimate. If the house is 1,000 square feet, then the roof is going to have a pitch to it. It's going to be 1.2. So that's be about 1,200 square feet. So we take the square footage of the house, multiplied by 1.2, gives me the pitch of the house. I add 10% to it. So that's going to be about, 13 and a half squares, right? A house is always measured, roof is measured in terms of squares. So what do I mean by squares? By squares, I mean is that 1,300 square feet, which is 1,000 square foot house, times 1.2, accounting for the pitch, plus about 10% or so extra. So 1,350, 1,400 square feet. Divide that by 100, that gives you 13 and a half to 14 squares. Now I'm going to take 14 and I'm going to multiply that by about 375 or so. That's the going rate for a complete tear-off roof, material and including labor. So 13 times about 375 or so. Now I know a lot of people are going to go nuts. They're like, Andrew, you can't get a roof done for $4,500 to $5,000. Well, you can't do it. I'm not saying I can't do it, but in this case, you have not only the roof, but you have a garage also, right? So now we're going to have to account for the garage. So if I take the roof of the house, add the garage to it. So the garage we said is 400 square feet. 20 by 20 is a regular garage. So you put a pitch to it. So that's going to be about 520 plus we bump it up to the next rounded up. So about 600 square feet, 600 square feet. And then we take the taken squares. So that's 6 squares. So about 14 squares here, 6 squares on the garage. That makes it a total of 20 squares. So if it's a 20 square house plus the garage, your budget should be somewhere around $7,500 to $8,000 total for both those items. Now, those items, if you remember what I said, was those items were not included, right? Let's say your driveway is messed up also. So now you have 8,000 for the garage and you have a long driveway, right? So then you have to know, okay, what is ballpark I'm going to pay for? If it's concrete, I'm going to make it a asphalt driveway. Why? Because it's much cheaper to put an asphalt driveway than it is to put a concrete driveway. And as long as there's no subdivision restrictions, right? Your community that you live in has no restrictions, then you can easily put, and most communities have no restrictions on putting a gravel driveway. So you can put a gravel driveway in there, which will be cheaper for you, about $450 a square foot, right? Or so, $450 to $5 a square foot. So you do that and take the square footage. Now, if your inside needs a HVAC and the rest of the stuff needs to be done, let's say the the main panel needs to be updated, some of the other stuff needs to be updated, it's already built in to our $35,000 guesstimate. We added the roof cost to it, which we said about $8,000 to $9,000, and let's just say it's on the driveway, another $6,500, right? See, all of these items, you can get them priced out once you get the property under contract and keep your attorney approval open. So the way we do it in Mastery is we take a rule of thumb and then we adjust to it. I need a roof, we're going to add that. I need a driveway, we're going to add that. If you go in the house and the property is really nice, like I just came from a property that was in Bellwood. I went there for Deidre and Byron to look at one of their properties they have under contract. And they're like, hey, man, what do you think? The property's in pretty decent condition. So I'm like, hey, do you have a village report on the property? They're like, no, not yet. We're waiting for it. But they have 2 new furnaces. Both are brand new high efficiency furnaces. The property is in fairly decent condition. I didn't say it's brand new, but I said it's in fairly decent condition. Conduit looks good, which is electrical, and in general, the plumbing looks pretty decent. Now, is the plumbing on? No. So, what they are is it possible they may have some leaks, they may have some other issues? Of course, that is possible, right? But in general, it is in fairly decent condition. So when I look at the property, I'm like, hey guys, listen, what would your ballpark be? Well, it's a two-story house, so ballpark would be 35,000 on a ranch generally, and then you got to add another. You don't have to double that, but you certainly have to add a little bit more because you have a second stairs. And in this case, they have a basement. They're not going to finish that, so you got to adjust for those items a little bit, right? So my number on that property would have been about 45 to 50, but because the property is in pretty good condition, we know what the back end product needs to be in Bellwood. I said, you guys need to get this property done between 25 to 30,000. So we're doing a guesstimate on a property. Generally, you need to have some rules of thumb that you have to understand, and then you're going to add or subtract from that rule of thumb. So let's say if I have a 2,400 square foot house, I have a 2,400 square foot house. My base rule is for about 1,000 square feet, it's going to be ballpark 35. Now you have 2 stories, you have 2.5, 3 baths. So I'm going to have to double it, which is going to be about 70,000. Now, if it's 300-400 square feet bigger, you don't have to worry about that kind of sort of thing. But in general, if you have a 2,500 square foot house and it needs to be completely updated, and somebody says, oh yeah, I can get it done for 30. No way in hell are you going to get it done for 30. It's not going to happen. I couldn't get it done for 30. Right? And so those are general rules of thumb. And as you start doing more of these, what starts happening is you start understanding the fundamentals of what is it a ballpark guesstimate. Are you going to be exactly opposite? Correct all the time? Absolutely not. But are you going to be within the ballpark? Yes. Why? Because you get a sense of it. So the way we do it is we break down the property in exterior, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and interior rehab, right? Generally, we're not doing remodeling. We're doing rehab, which is just basic changing out the kitchen, putting brand new cabinets in, throwing on countertops, putting a new sink, putting in new appliances. Boom, we're done. Paint, not carpet, excuse me. Nowadays, we don't do any carpet in most of the properties. We do LVP, luxury vinyl plank. That's the new thing to do. So that's all we're doing, right? And then you're updating the bathrooms. The 2 things that sell a house is the kitchen and the bath. Everything else is just extra. Everything else you have to do. You have to clean up the house. You have to make it functional, and you have to make it look nice. That's just a course of the process. But those are things that do not add value. Like sometimes people think, oh my God, I did extra insulation. Well, good for you. But guess what? The next buyer can't see it. They don't attach value with it. They're not going to pay for it, right? So those things become important for you to understand. Last question of today. This was a question which was, actually I have a bunch more, but I'm not going to be able to go through it time-wise. But the last question for today was about a property that somebody's buying. And the numbers are actually, let me do the numbers with you as we go through this. And so this is a property where this person is buying this particular property for $180,000. They're buying the property for $180,000. And their rehab number, so they sent me some of these pictures, and their rehab number on the property is $37,800. I don't know where they come up with a number like that, but anyways, $37,800. And what their question is that, what do we do? Should we flip this house or should we keep this for a rental? Now, mind you, just based on this information, I don't have enough information from them to figure out what they should do with the property or not. But I'm going to attempt, right? So let's just say if they were a mass street, the first thing we would look at is, who are they? Meaning, what do they need? Do they want to build up a portfolio of rental properties right now? Do they need to do flips? Are they able to do a rehab on this property on a flip? Are they better off doing a wholesale on it, right? Depending on where somebody is coming from and where they are in their lives. Now, all I know about them is that they've never done a rehab in their lives. Both of them are extremely, extremely busy. That much I know. And they want to be able to start building for their retirement. I have that much background. So Number one was that what is the area? So the area that they have this property in is a B plus area. Actually, I'm going to say it's almost not quite an A, but it is B plus for sure. It's kind of up north in the Lake County area, in Lake County. And now their quandary is, hey, what should we be doing? Should we do a flip on the property? Should we keep the property? What should we do? So number one, I think the area that they have is excellent, meaning B plus solid area. If that area was anywhere else, it would be an A area. So actually, since they already have the property under contract, I can mention the town. So this particular property is in Wheeling, right? I have properties in Wheeling, love the area, right next to Buffalo Grove, right next to a lot of great suburbs. So in this particular case, the rehab budget that they sent me of 37.8 is not accurate, because the pictures that they sent me on this property, it's not going to get done for 37.8. This minimum rehab is going to be a $65,000 rehab. Now, I'll give you the good news and the bad news. The good news is that the bad news is that the rehab is be almost twice of what they thought the rehab was going to be. It's impossible to do this rehab for 37.8. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is that the back end value, they're thinking the back end value on this property is about 310, and I don't know who the person is that told them the value on this property is 310. The value on this property, if it's done correctly, all day long as in I mean all day long, 100% guaranteed, is in excess of 360. It's well in excess of 360. So it's a phenomenal deal, right? It's a phenomenal deal, because think about it. 180 is their buy price. So if they do the rehab, they're going to be in this particular property after the rehab somewhere around 245, right? So 245 is what they're going to be in the property for, even with the 65,000 rehab. So on the back end, it's going to be a phenomenal deal for them. They can easily on this particular property make, I'm going to say, somewhere around 80 to 90, somewhere around 80, depending on how much they pay in interest or whatever the case may be, right? Somewhere in that ballpark, they can make that all day long. Now, if they stick this property in right now, the way it is, if they just buy it, if they have the ability to do that, and they just stick it back on the market in the MLS, as is without doing anything, they can sell the property as is in today's condition, the way it is, all day long for 230, right? All day long, right? I'm not even worried about that number. In fact, they may be able to even sell it for 250, 260, right? And if that's the case, so if I were them, and now, number one, if I were them, I would never sell the property. I would keep the property, 100%. No questions asked, I would keep this property. Because I would rent it out, or I would do a midterm rental. One of the two is what I would do with that property. But in their particular case, if they want to do a flip, it will work. Now, they just have to obviously be careful in terms of understanding how much money to spend and what sorts of things to do. But they should make 70, 80,000 bucks on this particular flip, no questions asked. But if they're smart and if they really want to get safe, according to me, the way they should treat this is they should call Jesse at National RE Funding, right? So that's National RE Funding. They can get a loan over there, 15% down, and they can get a loan for the rest. They should buy the property. They should take all the garbage out of the property. Like there's some, it's a probate property. Just clean the property, right? Broom sweep it, vacuum it, make it clean, right? Take everything out and just make it absolutely clean. This property, I guarantee you, will look like a dated house. And if you do this correctly, if you look at the inventory in that market, there's hardly any inventory. I would basically price it. I would put it back on the market on about February 15th or so, February 20th or so. I promise you, you will sell the property somewhere around 250, 260, if not higher. And you will have spent no more than 500 bucks on a dumpster and maybe 600, 800 bucks on day labor and a good, thorough cleaning of the property, right? That's all I would do, and you will make $40,000-$50,000. You do not need to do a flip on this property. In fact, if you do a good enough job with cleaning, painting, and just cleanup of the property, right? The water is already working, electrical is already working. There's not a heck of a lot wrong with the property. Once you touch it, now you're going to have to go and do a bunch of work. That's just how it is, given the size of this particular property. But I think this is an excellent, excellent, excellent property. So guys, number one, congratulations. But your budget is a bit too low, but there is a lot of upside on this property. And even at 360, 370, I am being extremely, extremely conservative, right? So there may be a lot more leg room over there for you to price the property closer to even 385 if you actually completely do a nice rehab. And you don't have to go over the top, but if you choose to do the rehab suddenly, I mean, instead of making 50,000, 60,000, you may even make 90,000 in that particular case. But if I were you, and I have not done this before, I would just buy the property, clean the property, and then just basically dump it back right on the market. And the beauty part of it is this person's wife is a agent, so it's, you know, you keep the commission in the family, at least half of it, and the rest of it you pay out. So thank you for sending the questions. We appreciate it. If this is a property you do not want to keep and you don't know what to do with it, or you don't have the funds, let us know. We're happy to take the property off your hands. I will be more than happy to buy the property personally. I know a lot of people in Mastery would love to buy this particular property, and you don't even have to do anything. In fact, I would be willing to put up the earnest money, and I know there's a bunch of people from Mastery, they will put up the earnest money to buy this property, take this property off your hands, because this is a great, great, great property, but it would be foolish for you to let this go. So just my 2 cents. So hopefully these Q&As, these questions, these addressing some of these properties helps you. And make sure you attend the meeting that is coming up. It's called Inside the Banker's Mind. And that is supposed to be on January the 11th, 6:30 here, because we're going to have a group of bankers that generally we do not have them out at the meetings. So this is going to be, especially we're going to have our personal banker, which happens to be the president of one of the banks we've done business with for a very, very, very long time. We don't even have him come to a 3-day. He's only reserved for Gold and Platinum Mastery. So you're going to get a chance to meet him, say hi, hello, that sort of thing. And so please make sure you join us. And remember, the 3-day tickets are on sale. I mean, they're available. They're not on sale anymore because the early bird is already gone. Early bird is still available, but the early bird is already gone. The prices have gone up just a little bit already because the dates for that are going to be coming up in the middle of February. So make sure you get registered, guys. 2024, we're planning on growing. It is going to be a phenomenal, phenomenal year. So what about you? Hopefully you'll be a part of that growth. Having said that, thanks a bunch and have a good day.